and welcome to Eco Girl in a Modern World. My name is Shelley and my channel is dedicated to talking about how to be environmentally friendly and in a modern context. This week we are going to talk about kind of a different subject. Last week we talked about upcycling. This week we're going to talk about a different subject. We're going to talk about some fall cleaning. And what got me into this subject is actually this time of year, now that it is officially fall, we have hit the first day. What is it? September 23rd is the actual first day of autumn. And I know, with back to school, it can feel like it's earlier than that, but we are officially into the new season. But the other thing is, this time of year, I kind of have, last video, we, in the autumn activities video, we talked a little bit about, our kind of patterns of doing things at the same time every year. And I definitely have a pattern of things that I do at the end of September, beginning of October. Now, what this time of year is kind of a special time for me because my birthday is the first week of October, and this year is a little bit different because I am actually taking a college course. I do have a college degree already, but I wanted to take an environmental course, so it's a STEM, an STEM course. And I knew going into it that it was going to keep me busy, but and it really has. I give mad props to anyone who is taking multiple classes because I'm taking one class and it's challenging. You have to do a lot of reading, and if you watch my Instagram or any of my social media pages, it's been pretty challenging. We've had quite a few of activities. And one other thing that inevitably happens, and I remember this being the case back when I was getting my first degree, is that it never fails. The first major test of the class, the first test when you take a class in fall, the first major exam always comes the weekend or the week of my birthday. So I remember, it was always a struggle because it's a big deal. You're encompassing a good 1/4 of the course load. So you have to do a lot of studying, and of course it coming right at my celebration time, I always want to procrastinate, but I'm actually going to look out at the test is right around that time, but it is before my birthday, so I can go ahead and get it knocked out. But I did, anyone who is taking multiple classes, I give you mad props because it's very challenging. Now, one other thing in that vein is that, I do work full time and I'm taking the one course, but this time of year, especially around my birthday, I do kind of have a pattern. You've probably heard of spring cleaning, when the spring comes, that, we've been indoors for all of the winter and everybody wants to just, sweep and dust. And I do the exact same thing in fall. So I have fall cleaning and I have spring cleaning. And fall cleaning is a tradition that I do every, it's almost like two bookends. I do the spring cleaning too, but fall cleaning is kind of important to me. Now, the first, so I wanted to dedicate this video to talking about the things that I do, the reason why I kind of do a fall cleaning and what I do, what steps I take, because they are all environmentally friendly. Now, the first thing that I do is that I like to take care of my car. Now, I own a little mid-size car, compact car. And, I won't go too much into detail because I will be going into another video that talks about this, but I am going to post a video down below by Vox that talks about the differences between compact car and SUVs. And the reason I go into this is because my car is not a hybrid. It is a full gas car, a gas vehicle, right? And so many people will kind of, suck their teeth or go tisk tisk, you're still driving a vehicle that, emits, fossil fuels. But just like there's points of argument for everything that is environmentally friendly, I do believe that there are points of argument for gas-powered vehicles. My first point is, so just to talk about the cleaning side first, is that what I like to do is I like to clean out my car very thoroughly. I like to dust it. I like to, get it all nice and clean and vacuumed. I also like to get the oil changed. And the reason that that is important is because, of course, when you go into the winter time, when you go into the summertime, you put thicker oil in your car because it's hotter out. And when you have thicker oil in your car, the heat melts or emoliates that oil quicker because it's hot out, right? But then in the fall, you want to do the same thing. You want to have an oil change, even if you haven't driven 3,000 miles. And I'm good about that. I don't drive my car off. I don't drive my car much, and I don't drive it far. So that does help with emissions. But it's important to get your car serviced because that does contribute to emissions. In the wintertime, you want to drain out the thicker oil from the summer, and you want to put thinner oil for the winter. And that goes a long way to making sure that your car is healthy, and that way when you do drive it, that you're not, that it's not struggling, that it's not emitting more CO2 because it's not in maintenance. That also goes a long way to making sure that you pass your emissions test. And that's another thing that I'm very careful about. My car is older than 10 years old. So that's another point of defense that I have for it. I don't buy a new car every 6 years. I don't trade it in every 6 months when the newer model comes out. The other thing is that my car is very small. And what you'll see in the video down below is that the argument that I seem to have is that so many people will look at my mid-sized little compact car and kind of, scold me for it being a gas-powered vehicle. Now, the problem with hybrids, or the problem with electric cars, is that really electric is you've got to charge up your car, and so you need power stations for that. You need power plants that power stations. And how do power plants give you electricity, right? They do that with, you've seen The Simpsons. If you've seen any of the documentaries that talk about the end life of power plants, or if you've ever seen meltdowns of power plants, that's not necessarily the direction we want to go. I mean, we're kind of, robbing Peter to pay Paul. We're getting away from emissions, which definitely we are in a climate crisis. All the homework that I've been doing for school is definitely anti-CO2. I'm not promoting the using gas, but I'm just saying switching over to electric is probably going to give us a whole different slew of problems. The other thing is that all of these electric vehicles that they're producing are SUV-sized vehicles. And if you watch the Vox video down below, SUV-sized vehicles when you look at the frame of that type of car, that is a truck-sized frame, like the axles and the spacing. And basically in the 70s, when we first had the first gas crisis, they said, okay, smaller vehicles must ration gas, but there were special provisions for trucks to not have to use less gas. So trucks were allowed to get around, because they were considered utility vehicles and they were allowed to use more gas. And what I've noticed is that everybody wants to drive an SUV and not a smaller car. And again, our consumer brain is just really warped like that. People look at my little car and like, oh, well, that's like driving a clown car. That's so tiny. It's a smaller vehicle. And because it's a smaller vehicle, it adheres to that lower gas limit. I'm not allowed to use more gas the way that SUVs do. And even if your SUV is an electrical powered one, a lot of those SUVs that they're selling that are electrical powered, they have a lot of bells and whistles that use more energy. Like, honestly, I don't really use those backup cameras. I feel like having a TV in your dashboard just so you can back up, I never really use them, and I feel like it uses more power. And then, to be quite honest, in 10 years, if they start to have glitches or things like that, that costs you more money. I know for a fact that, my little car, you know, it has all the bells and whistles that I want without anything that I don't need. And even, when things do start to break, like, the power window or the sensor on my tire pressure starts to go, that's like $250 each thing. So why are you gonna, why are we gonna switch to this alternative that uses electric power, that uses power plants that are going to have an end life too, just to have a TV in your dashboard so you can back up, and to have it be the frame of a truck that's allowed to use more gas anyway, or more electricity anyway. It just seems wasteful. But I won't, sorry to go off on a tangent, but if you watch the Vox video, it's very informative, because I do think that consumer-wise, we're kind of looking in a funny direction. Everybody's driving SUVs, which is the equivalent of driving a truck. If you drive an SUV, you're driving a truck. But my little compact car does still use gas, but it's over 10 years old. It's always passed its emissions test, and by me keeping it clean and keeping it in functioning order, and then not driving it as much, it really does, it contributes. Believe it or not, I believe that that's still the eco-friendly option. I feel like we contribute far more CO2 from fast fashion and buying things and shipping, fast furniture, shipping all of our food around the world. I think that is the bigger, or also flying for travel or leisure, that really contributes more than, my little compact car. Now, so in the fall, I do always do that. I do all the maintenance on my car. I make sure that it passes its emissions. And one other thing that I need to do with my car that I'm going to be doing in this next week, that's part of my fall cleaning program, is I am going to make sure that I'm not, sometimes cars, and I'm sure everybody can emote with this. The cars kind of become like our second closet. Sometimes you put something in the trunk and then you're like, oh, I'll unload it later, blah, blah, blah. And then it ends up sitting in your car for 6 months, right? So this week when I, after my work week and I get into vacation mode for my birthday, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that as I'm vacuuming out my car, that I'm also getting anything out of the car that doesn't need to be there, especially the heavier stuff that's been sitting in my trunk. If I've been treating my car like a closet, I'm going to get all of that out of there, because that contributes to gas, CO2 emissions. When you'd be amazed if you weighed, all of the things that you have in your trunk. That's just that much more weight that you are hauling around, and that's that much more gas that you're using to haul that around. So, that's part of my fall cleaning too. I like to clean up my car, oil change, vacuum, get it all nice and clean so it's ready to go for the new season. One other thing that I am going to be doing is I am going to be rotating out my winter clothes. That's something that comes around, at my birthday too. I remember growing up, when I would try to schedule birthday parties, it was always so hard to do, because one day it would be, kind of this 60, 70 degree weather. And then right around my birthday is right when it snaps, when at least where I live, the weather gets really, really cold all of a sudden. It'll drop right down to 50. And, I remember trying to plan a few birthday parties. I remember one year we went horseback riding, and it was really like, I had to watch the weather, because I'm like, okay, are we just wearing long sleeve t-shirts, or are we going to be wearing our sweatshirts going to be needed? But what I like to do, and this has actually been mentioned on other environmental channels too, which is very good. As you've seen here on our channel, when it comes to fashion, I really encourage wearing what you have, because that's part of what contributes to carbon emissions, is us buying all new clothes every single season. You really don't have to do that. And our eco rules when it comes to fashion is wear what you got, wear it more than once. That's another thing that's in our culture right now. We like to only be seen in something once and then never wear it again. That's ridiculous. Make sure that it's a natural fiber. Buy it secondhand if you can. And then wear it at least 30 times. And one way that you can really kind of get, and I know sometimes that doesn't seem really exciting, but what I like to do is in the springtime, with the spring cleaning, I pack up all of my sweat, when the weather snaps the opposite direction in the spring, when it starts to get warmer in the spring, I pack away all of my sweaters and sweatshirts, and then I pull out all of my summer clothes. So now that it's getting to the time where it's about to snap and I'm doing my fall cleaning, I'm going to go into my closet and I'm going to take, all of the tank tops, all of the shorts, and I'm going to pack them away, and I'm going to pull out all of the sweaters. Now, this gets exciting. This is an exciting thing because, believe me, the last couple weeks when I've been out in the world, I've been seeing, I walk past the stores and I see beautiful sweaters on display. And the funny thing is, when I go shopping, I'm human just like the rest of us. I look at something and I think, oh, pretty, that would look great. But I always ask myself, do I already own something like that? Because I have a closet full of staples that are made of quality organic fabrics. I really don't need to buy anything new very often. And it was interesting, the other day I was, kind of window shopping, and I saw a lot of pieces that look like stuff that I already own, but not as quality. Like, it's funny, I saw a red sweater that was like all polyester, and I have 100% cotton red sweater that I bought secondhand. And it is organic cotton too. I bought it secondhand. I've owned it for 5 years. I've worn it more than 12 times, and it's my favorite red sweater. And here it is, this store, showing me something that's exactly like what I already have. But right now that red sweater is packed away, and this weekend I'm going to go pull it out. Now, the one thing that's always an adventure with that is that in the springtime, it's always, that rule, that saying, when you go on vacation, you get all of your clothes into the suitcase before you get to your destination, but getting all of the stuff back into the same suitcase on the way back is always a challenge. That it's kind of like that in the spring. It's much easier to pack away the summer stuff because it's just, it's thinner and not as thick. So, pulling out all the winter stuff, doing the rotation, it should be pretty easy, but I'll get to pull out all of the sweaters, and it feels exciting. I feel like doing it that way, unpacking the sweaters that you've had in storage or rotating out your clothes, that feels like shopping your closet. Like Alyssa Beltempo has a channel here. She talks about that all the time, shopping your closet. And so pulling out those sweaters, getting excited about it, it's like it's brand new and you didn't have to buy anything new. So that's what I'm going to be doing this weekend. That's going to be part of my fall cleaning, is putting away the summer stuff, all of my beach, my beach dresses. We'll say, farewell for now until next year. And then in the springtime, I can pull them back out and get excited about all of those clothes. All of the clothes that you saw in the beach trip and the mermaid core, we'll see those again in the spring. So that's one other tradition that I do. Now, in the vein of fall cleaning, I don't just stop at my car. Of course, I like to, clean the house as well. And, fall cleaning for the house is always a really nice thing, because it seems like once the weather starts getting colder, it's amazing how, have you ever experienced this, where you dusted something and then 5 minutes later it's dusty again? I feel like for some reason it does that more in the fall time. Maybe it really is because, we're starting to come indoors more, and, the other thing is, insects and animals are starting to come indoors too, towards the winter months, things will try to get into your house. But, I've always, all the practices that I'm going to show you today, I do on the regular. So of course, it is never just in fall, but it is kind of something that I do a very thorough and, like across the board cleaning the first week of October, almost again, like a parallel spring cleaning, fall cleaning. Now, the first thing that I like to do is I like to do a very thorough wash of all of my linens. Now, my bedding gets washed just about twice a month anyway. My pillowcases and all of my, I have cotton liners if you watch my bedding video, but all the pillowcases and all the pillow liners get washed weekly, every week on Wednesday. But the bedding and the mattresses, those I can play it by ear, but usually I try to get to it at least every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks if I feel like it's not that dirty. But in the fall time, especially as we're pulling out our comforter and stuff, I like to do a thorough wash of everything, thorough vacuum, and a thorough dusting. Now, one other thing that you can do with your pillows, you can actually put the pillows themselves into the dryer. Now, dryers use a lot of energy, so of course you want to be environmentally friendly with that. And the best way you could do it is to try to put all as many pillows as you can without overloading the dryer. But if you put your pillows in, especially like your throw pillows, in the dryer for a good 45 minutes, that not only fluffs them up, it really puffs them up and makes them all nice and fluffy, but it also disinfects things very, very nicely. So if you're doing like a thorough fall cleaning and you're vacuuming and you're dusting and you're washing your linens, why not throw your pillows in for a good dry cycle anyway? And that's just a nice way to disinfect and get everything feeling nice and warm and fuzzy and fluffy for fall. One other thing that I like to do is when it comes to dusting, you've probably seen that there's a lot of synthetic dusters out there, especially Swiffers. Swiffers are those plastic, reloadable, plastic handle dusting, devices. What I use in my environmental friendly is this. And this is made by a company called Marley's Monsters. And it's handmade in Eugene, Oregon, USA. And what this is a bamboo handle. And if you look at it, it's completely wood. It's a bamboo. It's got a little cotton on it. And what this is like this is 100% cotton attachment. And then there is a string that, goes to the handle, and you just put it right on, and this is a eco-friendly duster, guys. And this works wonderfully. I can dust corners, I can dust my bed, I can dust, just about anything. When it starts to get real dirty, you can kind of hand, the big pieces, you can just kind of fluff off into the trash, throw it into the washer, wash it on, medium hot, and then you could either hang it up to dry or put it in, tumble on low. The other thing is that it stays on very, very nicely. You can hang this upside down and it doesn't fall off. So you could absolutely store this in your storage closet with your broom and everything else. And you can also buy additional, if you want more than one, of course we have some areas of dust that are worse than others. And that's completely an organic way to dust. And I do use that on my car, my dash on my car. Now, one other thing that I wanted to talk about when it comes to cleaning is, and I'll talk about this again when we get into bathroom and kitchen cleaning, but a lot of times we use so many chemicals to clean. And we also use a lot of spray bottles. Like a lot of bottles that you buy have the little spray attachment. And, the bottle itself might be recyclable. I mean, a lot of plastic doesn't, 80% of plastic doesn't get recycled, and really plastic can only be recycled about 7 to 8 times. And when you look at recycled things, it'll say 70 or 80% recycled plastic, because you can't 100% recycle anything plastic these days. But the pumps on things are not recyclable. And if you buy, spray cleaners that have a new pump on it every single time, that is creating a lot of waste that's going straight to a landfill that would never get recycled. So one other thing that we talk a lot about microplastics on this channel too. One other thing I always got concerned with is that there's something called Mr. Clean's Magic Eraser. The magic eraser is this little sponge-like thing that you get it, you wet it a little bit, and then you can scrub off any buildup on your sinks and your countertops. Now, what that is that, and that I was always curious about that, because that always really upset me, because when I look at magic erasers, they work really well, but what happens is the sponge eventually disintegrates, it wears away, and I always thought, okay, what is that made of? What's in it that makes it do that? And magic erasers are actually made from something called a melamine foam. And melamine, if you define it, if you look at the actual chemicals in it, it is called formaldehyde melamine sodium bisulfate copolymer. And if you pick out some of those keywords, formaldehyde, melamine, sodium bisulfate, and we've talked about sulfates before. Sulfates are not good. Sulfates are what you've probably seen shampoos and conditioners say, oh, we're sulfate free. And that's because sulfates, they are a cleaning agent, but the problem is that they are very, sulfates being on your skin for just a minute probably won't harm you too much, but them going into water reserves, sulfate in water reserves have seen to alter the sexual genitalia of a lot of sea creatures, including any animal that can sit in contaminated water. The other thing is it's not really good for you to even have it on your skin even briefly, because it is an endocrine disruptor, and it's pretty toxic. So, we use it as like a cleaning agent, and we use it in shampoos, but really it's a pretty toxic thing. So right off the cuff, you're looking at something that the other thing is copolymer is plastic. So basically a magic eraser just puts a bunch of microplastics that contain formaldehyde and sulfates into the water, and we love it because it cleans real well. Well, in this video for my fall cleaning, I'm going to show you an alternative to the magic eraser. And this has worked really well for me. If you've ever seen, if you remember from the 3rd grade, and maybe you did this and maybe you didn't, but in the 3rd grade, there was something called a volcano project. What you could do is you could make a little clay volcano. And what you do is inside of the volcano, if you put a bunch of baking soda inside of your volcano, and then if you pour, vinegar in it, it has a chemical reaction that makes it bubble up. And what you could do is you can to make it look like a volcano, you can put some red food dye in your vinegar, so when it hits the baking soda, it looks like lava, right? So that's the good old-fashioned 3rd grade science project, if anybody remembers that, right? So this is what I refer to it as. It's the 3rd grade volcano project. This is how you clean your toilet and your sink. I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but it works. What you do is, and it's very inexpensive too, and goodness knows in this day and age where inflation has been a bear, this will save you a lot of money too. A box of good old-fashioned baking soda, and it can be the generic kind, it could be the kind that you get at Target. It's 99 cents. So a 99-cent box of baking soda, and then white vinegar, which is, you can get a huge bottle. I actually get pretty big bottles because I not only use this for cleaning, but believe it or not, and we'll get into this when we do the dental video, or the tooth care, dental care video, is you can, you know how if you have a mouth guard, you should never soak your mouth guards in mouthwash or anything alcohol based. You can absolutely, and I asked my dental assistant and my dentist about it, and they said, yes, this is true. You can soak mouth guards in white vinegar for 20 minutes, and it's an excellent disinfectant, and it doesn't harm you at all because it's white vinegar. You can drink that. It's what you use for cooking, right? So the way that you replace the magic eraser is if you just go ahead and take some good old-fashioned baking soda. So what you need is 3 things. You need a bottle of white vinegar, and where this really gets helpful is you can have one cleanser bottle. Like I have one bottle and with one sprayer. I never throw this away. This is reusable, and so that also eliminates all of those extra pumps that you get with all these cleaners, right? You could go ahead and just refill your spray bottle with vinegar. So this is my cleaning, my cleanser bottle with a spray. Fill it up with white vinegar. And one other thing that you're going to need is you're just going to need a sponge that's made of natural, what do they call this? Natural cellulose. Now this one has a scrubber, but I honestly just like the ones that are just regular sponge. You don't even need any loofah. It works actually just fine, and you'll see in a minute with the video, it works just fine with just the sponge. And this is, when you throw this away, it biodegrades because it's natural cellulose. But basically what you do is sprinkle your sink with, and I apologize, my sink actually gets a little grosser than this. I mean, I clean it very, very regularly, but I didn't want to gross anyone out. When you brush your teeth and do other things, build up always, it's a sink. It starts to get a little thick there sometimes. But if you go ahead and just sprinkle a nice, good, medium to thin layer of baking soda, and then go ahead and this is where we get into our 3rd grade science project. Go ahead and hit it with the vinegar, spray it with the vinegar. It starts to bubble. And then if you grab your loofah sponge, and I've done this without gloves. The only time is it does cause a little bit of a chemical reaction. You definitely do want to keep the fan on, and you don't want to get too close to it. It's never really harmed me in a bad way, but you can smell it. It does have kind of a little bit of a chemical reaction smell. But keep the fan on. Make sure that you're not putting your face right up to it, but go ahead and spray it down. Wet your sponge. Just get put a little bit of water on your sponge, and then go ahead and scrub it. And just like baking soda, you see in baking soda, baking soda is an abrasive that you use in toothpaste to help keep your teeth white. The baking soda acts just like the magic eraser. The baking soda is the abrasive agent, and it scrubs off at all of that, all the grime that's built up on your sink. And guys, I've done this for years, and it works really well. Believe it or not, you can also do this. Like the cover of our record player is plastic, and it's it's vintage. You can do the same thing. You can kind of take you could take a sponge with a little bit of water and just kind of like do kind of like a dry rub of some baking soda, spray it lightly with the vinegar, and then wipe it off, and then just do kind of a rinse with, just come back over it with the sponge with water. It cleans very, very well. I actually use that same process with my toilet bowl. I won't show you, but and my toilet bowl brush is actually a wooden brush. It's a wooden brush, and I'll put a picture up. It's a wooden brush, and then it has a clay where the bin, where the when you hang the brush back up again, the receptacle at the bottom is one of those clay circles, just like the bottom saucer of a plant pot. And it makes it, I really like that. First off, it's not plastic, so when we do get to its end life, when I throw it away, it's wood, so it has a better it has a better end life than plastic. The other thing is that if I absolutely want to, I can don gloves and really rinse out or clean out that the clay disc where nothing gross is accumulating. And I just noticed that a lot of for a long time I was using those little they're by Blue Land, and it worked really well, but there were the little tabs that you would throw into your toilet bowl, and almost like a bath bomb, they would kind of dissolve, and then you could just scrub out your bowl. They were very convenient, and the way that Blue Land mails them is very eco-friendly. The only thing that I didn't like about that is that I did look at the ingredients list, and while most of the ingredients are pretty eco-friendly, it did say something about having sulfites in it. So again, I was trying to avoid having any sulfites in any of my cleaning agents, and again, this process cleans my sink very, very well. So I use it on my toilet bowl, and it keeps it very, very clean. And it's funny when I do that, and of course, I spray the vinegar up under the rim. I really get in there good. And I've noticed that I just don't have to clean it as often. It keeps it very, very disinfected. Also, if you do feel like, if you feel like you have to kind of, toilet bowls, a lot of people do those little hanger things that, disinfect. I find that just sprinkling some baking soda around the edge, where the water pools in the toilet bowl, if you just sprinkle that in and hit it with a little bit of vinegar and let it sit a little bit, that keeps it fresh in between washes too, where you don't have to scrub it as often. I just feel like it's so much more eco-friendly than, and it's a lot less expensive, and it doesn't have as much chemical waste. The other thing that I use this process on is that if you do have, I know a lot of people have shower curtains, but if you have one of those stand-up shower stalls that have like the plastic or rolling doors, you can absolutely do the same process with this. What I like to do is I take a wet natural sponge. I wet the sponge, dip it in a little bit of baking soda, and do that kind of dry rub in circles, and then I hit it with some vinegar and then really scrub it again. And it really cleans very, very nicely. And you can also get into the track of your doors very, very well too by doing the same thing, just sprinkling the vinegar, sprinkling the baking soda, hitting it with vinegar, and letting it sit for a little bit. Baking soda is great for soaking. It disinfects. It really, what it does is it dries out some of that, the stuff that, that gets into the nooks and crannies of your bathroom. But so I know this sounds kind of funny again, okay, why is she talking about cleaning for fall? But this is my process. And believe it or not, when the weekend before my birthday, I go through and do all this, and it feels good to me. I feel like I'm ready for the new season. I've got I got a closet full of all of my winter clothes, a few transitional pieces. I even though you're pulling out all of your sweaters, if you leave a few, if you want to have one or two short sleeve ones just for those odd days when you might have a warm day in winter. But it just, I've got a clean car, a car that's, emissions ready. I try not to drive too far, and I've, my closet's ready to go. My room is ready to go, and I just feel like everything is in place and very, very clean. So I thank you for joining me today. I know that's kind of an odd topic, but it's really is something that I do this time of year. The other thing is that I think it just gives me peace of mind. It lets me, just like I said, having my homework done, it gives me, once it's almost like doing all the chores first, so I can party later, right? But so please let me know what you think. Is there, I know I've heard some other ways that you can really clean, maybe not with vinegar. I've heard of lemon juice and salt and, lots of different ways. So if you liked what you saw in this video, please leave a comment or a like. If you're new to the channel and you like what you see, I would be very honored if you would subscribe. And please let me know if you have any other cleaning, or do you have the fall tradition? Do you do fall cleaning? Please tell me what you think in the comments below. But I thank you again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.